Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to do a step-by-step tutorial of how to use Lightroom Mobile. So we're going to start with skin retouching. So there are three options to do skin retouching. It's remove, heal, and clone. I showed you guys a bit what remove does. It just removes the blemishes, and I'm showing you guys now what clone does. You select the spot. You are going to then drag it over to the preferred part that you would want to clone. So there I'm showing you guys what that would look like if I wanted to clone that side of my subject. And then I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to again go back to remove. I'm going to decrease the size, and as you guys can see, I'm just going to do a bit of skin retouching. That removes any like pimples, any blemishes that your subject may or may not have, or anything that you notice on there that needs to just get rid of it, I'm just going to do this all over my subject's face, or up until I don't see any of the blemishes anymore. And then we're going to move on to another important part, which is going to be masking. So with masking, you have a few options on what you want to select. So you can do subject, sky, background, or you can even use the brush to select a certain area. And I'm going to show you guys what they look like individually. So we're going to start off with selecting the subject. Once you clicked on select subject, it is going to then detect the subject, and it's going to highlight the person that you selected. This way, whatever edits that you do in regards to lighting adjustments, sharpness, details, whatever it is that you do is only going to be applied to the subject and nothing else. Now, I'm going to show you guys what I mean by that. If I go into exposure and decrease the exposure, it's just decreasing the exposure and increasing the exposure on the subject only. Now, if I'm going to leave that up a little bit just to increase the exposure on the photo. Now, if I go into contrast, something similar, right? Where if I decrease the contrast, the color in her skin the color in her skin starts to fade away. If I increase it, it gets a little bit more contrast into it. Similar to highlights, the bright points on your body, that whether or not I decide to increase or decrease, again, it's only going to the subject. And that's the main point to highlight here, pun intended. But yeah, as I'm gonna go through the rest of the photos, or at least the rest of this photo, kind of just like playing around with the lightings, the blacks, the whites, but this is mainly just to show you guys what this looks like in regards to just masking the client. So now, after I did the adjustments, I'm going to show you guys the before and after. So the before, a bit dark, not enough contrast, not enough anything, actually, kind of a lifeless photo, to now it kind of looking a little bit better. And then now I'm going to show you guys the differences in temperatures. Obviously, the lower you get, the cooler the tones are. The higher you get, the more warmer tones. And by cool and warm, it's mainly going into like the blues, dark blues. And then if you increase it, getting into the warms, the yellows, the greens. And then similar thing with the tint, where the lower you go, the tint gets to be green. The higher you go, the tint is purple. So I'm just going to add a little bit more saturation to this photo. Again, we want to put color, we want to put light onto the subject. And now we're going to move into the effects. Again, the more texture I have, the more texture that shows on her skin. The less texture that I add, it gives off a more blurry effect. I'm going to decrease the texture just a little bit, not too much. I don't want to blur her out in its entirety. Similar thing with the clarity. Blurring effect, I'm just going to decrease that just a tad because I don't want to completely blur her out, but I do want her skin to be a little bit more smoother in the photo. And then I'm gonna increase the dehaze just by a little bit. And then again, just showing you guys what the before looks like and what the after is looking like. And now we're going to get into detail where I'm going to increase the noise, decrease the noise, just so you guys can like see a difference. There's not a real difference in like increasing or decreasing. I do notice that the pictures are a lot smoother with the increase. So I did increase it a little bit. And then similar to the sharpness, kind of wanted the photo to be a little bit more sharp. So I'm going to increase that as well. So yeah, this is what it's looking like before. Again, showing you guys the before and after. So now we're going to get back into the same masking because again, I only maxed the subject. Now I'm going to mask the sky. And look, this is what the automated image does in regards to sky, and then this is what the background does. It'll get the entirety of the background. So if you want to play around with the color of the background, if you feel like the background is too dull or you just don't like the color, the saturation, whatever the case may be, you can kind of just play around with that. Me personally, I kind of wanted a more grayish background. I felt like that kind of went a little bit more with the how the picture was looking like so far. So I kind of just decreased the saturation, and then I'm kind of just playing around with the exposure a little bit just to show you guys like how I'm going about changing the color. And I decrease the exposure a little bit, and then this is what it's looking like. Again, those are the before and that is the after so far. So that's what that's looking like so far. And now I'm going to go back into masking, and I'm going to click on the brush because I want to show you guys what that does. You know, that's going to allow you to brush any part of the subject of the background that you want and kind of changing it. So I've just brushed the top part of her hair, a very random spot, but I just wanted you guys to see what I was talking about from before in regards to, again, whichever part that you mask, that's the color, that's the part of the picture that it kind of goes to. So if I play around and I like put the temperature all the way down, the top part of where I brushed is gonna change in color. So again, you have different options in regards to masking. Again, if you feel like, you know, let's say for example your background is darker than your subject or vice versa, and you don't want to do both at the same time and you kind of want it to be separate, masking kind of gives you the option of being able to get that done. So now once I get out of masking, I'm just going to edit everything as a whole, meaning the subject and the background will now get affected in what I decide to kind of play around with. So the vibrance option isn't there when you mask, so I kind of want to adjust that just a tad because again, I don't want her skin to come out looking too like orangey, but I do want to increase that a little bit. And then here I'm just showing you guys like all of the buttons and other things that usually come with Lightroom Mobile. Again, for the most part, I typically use just the same amount of editings in some of them. I don't typically do every single thing that's in Lightroom Mobile, but I do feel like the ones that I use are what I need for my photos. And here I'm increasing the sharpening just again, just a little bit. Same with the noise reduction, just increasing that just a tad. And then also just like, again, playing around with the color noise reduction as well. And again, this is what we're looking like so far. The before and the after, vastly different. Again, and this is if you're a non-photographer, this is also why photographers do not give out raw photos, or at least why I don't give out raw photos. And I know that's a controversial topic, but yeah, the difference in, you know, what editing in Lightroom Mobile can make in regards to your photos. But yeah, I probably should have done this in the beginning of the video, but some of the curls in the back are a little bit frizzy, or there's like a little bit of frizz to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to use my remove tool that I use for the skin retouching. And I'm just going to, you know, kind of dust up the different ends and different parts of her hair just to kind of give it a bit more of a seamless look. So usually this is where I would kind of go into Photoshop and edit this a little bit more. But again, for the sake of this video, I'm just trying to show you guys different ways on how to edit photos without the need of, again, like let's say for chance that you just don't have Photoshop, or you're someone who's a beginner and you're just starting out, and let's say you can't afford it, you just don't have it, whatever the case may be. But showing you guys that, the option to just use one editing app is also there. And again, kind of just showing you guys how to use Lightroom Mobile if you're ever on the go, or you need to kind of use your phone in regards to editing, or your iPad, whatever the case may be, that the options of getting like good quality photos are still out there regardless of what it is that you're using. And then once you're done, you're just going to save photo, and then it's going to save to your device. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, here's the before and after, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.